So what exactly is a thesis? So I have consulted the Center for Writing Studies at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign for a succinct and simple explanation of a thesis. Sometimes I think it's better to use the resources available to you. So here's the definition from them. Every paper you should write should have a central message, main point, or main idea. The arguments that you make in your paper should reflect the main idea. The sentence that captures your position on this main idea is what we'd call a thesis statement. So encapsulated and reiterated throughout this definition is main idea. Your thesis is central to your paper because it is in essence your paper. If your paper were to be distilled down to one sentence, it would be your thesis. If you think of it this way, your thesis is what you're executing the proof of for the rest of your paper, whether it's 5 paragraphs or 5 pages. So in any paper, they're really important. And we're going to talk about what makes a thesis quality and what can make the difference between a strong thesis or a weak thesis, or a strong paper or a weak paper. So a good thesis uses evidence. It's mostly going to be from the text, but it can also be from outside the text depending on what you're arguing. There are a myriad of resources that you can use and that I can help you find. But a lot of times people consult quotations, paraphrased information from the text, and their own analysis to prove their intended points, which are illustrated in the thesis. The central tenet of a thesis is that it can be argued, and you can argue both for or against it. If a thesis is a purely true statement and it cannot be argued against, you have essentially created a brick wall at the beginning of your paper, and it's really, really hard to find something to chisel through it with. But you want your paper to move like, a river does, and you want your thesis to be a strong stone. So all of the water that is your paper, will go over the thesis. So a thesis is also typically 1 to 2 sentences. It's important to know that you don't have to jam it all into the first sentence. You can move on to 2, but 2-part theses can often be a little bit more complicated to prove and should be reserved for topics you feel really, really strong about. And okay, this is the fun part because there's a rainbow and I like those. It's the thesis spectrum. I got to do some art here, it was really fun for me, so it was good. Every thesis can be classified on a spectrum from pure summary to wild speculation. As you can imagine, being at either of those extremes can really hurt your paper. If it's pure summary, there's nothing for you to prove. If it's wild speculation, there's no way for you to prove anything. Being in the dead middle might seem like the sweet spot, but the sweet spot is actually a shift to the right from the middle, slightly more towards the side of wild speculation rather than summary. Your thesis should be daring and it should keep your readers on their toes while still being grounded in a logical place and situation. So, I am excited to have presented this information to you thus far, and I'm wondering if anyone has any questions. Okay, no questions, so I'm going to move on to something that is really exciting for me, and also a little bit embarrassing. But it keeps the blood running, it just really makes me feel alive to yell for the sake of education. And I'm excited that you're all here with me to do my thesis statement chant. So how this is going to work is that I will read it out slowly the first time, then I will show you the intonation with which I will chant it, and then I will ask you all to join me. Awesome. Okay, so let's get started. Argument, meaning, evidence. If together you're trying to piece this, please consult my thesis. One more time. Argument, meaning, evidence. If together you're trying to piece this, perhaps you should read my thesis. I'm going to really get into character now, so this is good. If together you're trying to piece this, perhaps you should consult my thesis. Is everyone ready? We're going to go with consult. I'm feeling it. Okay. If together you're trying to piece this, perhaps you should consult my thesis. All together now? Good?
Yep.
If together you're trying to piece this, perhaps you should consult my thesis. Awesome. If anyone wants to take it on their own, just like throw your hand in the air.
Oh, me!
Oh my goodness, please, thank you. I would really appreciate it.
Okay.
It's all you.
Future, now, or past. Truth, fake, or fact. Together you want to piece this. Perhaps you should write a thesis.
Oh, can we just give our student a round of applause, please? Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.